This is our Nikon Z follow-up. We're going to address some of your questions and your concerns, and then when we get a final copy of this camera, we'll do a full review. This is not that. This is just us talking to you. So, feelings.
People had a lot of them,
Yeah,
right?
they did.
As we were looking at the comments, and that's part of why we wanted to write back. Why do you think people are so emotional about this?
I think that people had a lot of expectations and a lot of hopes, and then I also think that we came into the review with some emotions and people were kind of mirroring that.
Here's a bunch of comments that people wrote and I want to address. How can I trust Tony and Chelsea when they claim that a 50mm lens is $800? It's $596. In that video, I transposed the prices of the 50 and 35mm lenses. I got them backwards.
Yeah, we just mixed them up, so.
My bad. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. The weird part is that people want to dismiss all of the review. First off, the Northrops are Canon people. Once the full frame Canon mirrorless comes out, I'm sure they'll be extolling how much greater that system is than everyone else's. If Canon makes a better full frame mirrorless camera, then
Yeah,
yes.
we would like that.
If
but
they don't.
Why is he saying we're Canon people? Based on what? Like, the D850 is my main shooting camera. We use Sony almost every day. We love Fuji. We rave about the X-T2 all the time, and we bring that camera out doing street photography all the time. Like,
This is being filmed on Blackmagic cameras.
yeah, you don't know me, Spy Black. You don't know my life.
We mostly switched to Nikon when the D810 came out, which was quite a few years ago. Aren't the Northrops still on the Sony payroll? This guy, they can't even make up their minds about who we're being paid by, but it's none of them. We fully disclose all sponsorships as required by law, but also as required by ethics. And we don't accept money or free gear from camera or lens manufacturers, and we never have. And that's contrary to a lot of people in the industry. Like magazines have to accept ads from that's how they make their living.
If
Same
we
with
stopped
blogs.
doing reviews, I'd totally get sponsored. If we were no longer reviewing cameras, then I'd be fine with it. I'm not against that, but can't accept money from a camera company if I'm going to review their cameras. That's a conflict of interest.
I put together a supercut of us reviewing Sony cameras, complaining about the same things that we complained about with the Nikon camera. So roll that for me, Justin. Today we have the brand new Sony A7 Mark II.
I'm having a hard time getting some of these in focus.
Come on, focus, you piece of shit.
Did you just call that a piece of shit?
Yeah, just because it's a piece of shit.
Sony flew us out to a press event in Miami to try out the new A6300.
It often hunted or focused on the background during the shot. With still subjects, the hunting made continuous autofocus unusable.
It looks as though my camera is starting to overheat.
And it was only like 78 degrees. You'll need to carry multiple batteries to get you through most sporting events, or even a day of casual shooting. You can't do anything with the camera until the entire buffer is written to the memory card, and when you're shooting rapidly, it never seems to stop writing.
In Machu Picchu.
We're comparing the A7R Mark II and the 5 DSR.
Adapted autofocus doesn't work great when recording video.
Battery life was a nightmare. We used 3 batteries per day. This one is a deal breaker for many pros. The Sony has only 1 memory card slot. What the f***?
Language, Chelsea.
I know. I've toned it down since. I remember after that trip, when we made that video, I was like, this trip was fun, but they're never having us back again if they watch this video. But Sony actually did, and instead they just talked to us and they asked us what we liked and did not like, and they gradually improved their cameras. And as they did that, our reviews got better and better, and people accused us of being shills for Sony. But really, they just listened and they kept having us back, even though I have a filthy mouth and I'm pretty blunt. And the same thing will happen with any camera. We say what we feel, and we've been uninvited to things. We've had companies that will just stop talking to us, but that's not going to stop me. I'll just buy their camera and have a foul mouth anyway.
People should sober up. Ignore shills that make reviews for affiliate links. We told people that their current camera was probably still the best camera and that they probably shouldn't upgrade at the moment, but just keep shooting with the Nikon that they have. And that doesn't make us any sales. No, if we wanted to make affiliate sales, we would make a really positive review and tell everybody to buy it. That would definitely make us more money. It would also have gotten us more views if we could have said this is the greatest mirrorless camera ever. Even when we encourage people not to buy something, we're shills.
All pros use dual cards. That made people mad.
No, we never said this.
No, we didn't.
That's the thing. But people are picking this up like as if we said this, but we didn't. We just said, hey, this is a calculated risk. The risk of that single card failing is greater than 0. Some people say it's very, very small. Some people say it's bigger. I don't know, but we've had enough cards fail that we know it's greater than 0. And XQD cards fail too. We talked to a few people who had XQD cards fail. I don't think we've had one fail, but we also don't use them as much.
They're not as common and they haven't been around as long.
Yeah, so you wouldn't see as many failures.
But also, I remember what I said in that exact video was something like, maybe I wouldn't mind the one card slot if everything else were perfect and I could work around it. Would I use it for a wedding? No, I don't want to take that risk. Someone else might be totally willing to have a card go corrupt at a wedding and then have to tell the bride, hey, can you re-kiss your husband? Not me. That's not what I would do. But yeah, you can be a pro and have one card slot. Have a good time.
Lots of people do it. It's just a calculated risk. This person's saying he's never had a memory card fail and very likely never will. I am not wrong.
Oh, I thought he was wrong, but then I was like, wait, he's not wrong? I should not use any logic or question anything he's saying.
Dan Brown says he's not wrong, but his source is also Dan Brown, who is not wrong. Therefore, he is not wrong.
I'm so confused.
It's like Wikipedia citations. It's circular. Battery life, we did not even mention it because we shot with it for like an hour and a half, maybe closer to 2 hours. And one of the like 4 or 5 bars was gone. So we both looked at it and were like, oh, battery life seems fine. A lot of people were concerned about battery life because there's these CIPA ratings.
Yeah.
And I think there was a misprint in the US version of it where they said it was only good for like 300 photos. About the Z-mount, a lot of people had questions about, there was a lot of talk from Nikon about how the wider mount was going to revolutionize stuff and allow really fast lenses, but they didn't introduce any particularly fast lenses. And people asked me, is it actually going to improve things optically to have that shorter flange distance? And my understanding, which is partially based on talking to a few of my nerdy peers, is that it would only make a difference with very wide and very fast lenses, but that it does enable some more flexible designs with fast and wide lenses. Now, none of the current lenses are fast or wide. And they've announced the 58mm f/0.95, which is not wide but fast. Maybe it helps for that, but I don't know. I'll say we have a Nikon 50 f/0.95 for Sony, which has a much smaller mount, and that works fine. And I don't see that it would benefit from having a wider mount. A lot was made of the camera being pre-production. Some people accuse us of being unethical for posting a review about a pre-production camera. And I think it's actually partially our fault because I put pre-production in the title.
Yeah, and Nikon only told us we had to label the pictures that we took with the camera pre-production, so we were kind of overly cautious with that, and I think that it was unintentionally a bit misleading.
Yeah, they did not say this firmware is beta. We never heard the word beta. I read that they're producing like 20,000 cameras a month, and I know there are photos of the factory from some time ago where they're churning them out, so they are producing them in volume right now. They made no indication that functionality like the focusing, the metering, that any of that was pre-production. Every review that we do like this at a press event, the camera is technically pre-production. We've never seen better focusing or better metering or any substantial feature change between the time we test it and the time it's released.
I also wanted to make it clear that people were placing pre-orders based on our review. So whether it's pre-production or not, it's up to the company to provide us with the final camera if that's what they want their customers, placing their orders on. So in my mind, it was like, if someone's going to put down thousands of dollars, they should know my true experience with the camera that they might get.
And in fact, Nikon Rumors put up a whole article blaming the Nikon's PR department for putting this beta camera into people's hands. And it seems like it's all contingent on this idea that somehow the release version is going to be substantially better, but there's no indication of that. There's just no reason to think that it's going to be different than any other Nikon camera, Sony camera, Canon camera.
That'd be crazy if they invited all of the press out to review a camera that they thought wasn't ready yet.
People latched on to pre-production and it was like the closest thing. I think it's just the closest thing we have to hope. Let's talk about
so sad.
The focusing. While we were there, we talked to 3 of our peers. We said, hey, we're having these focusing problems. Are you seeing this too? And they kind of said, yeah, we're seeing that problem too. One person actually was having more serious problems with the focusing. We also talked to the Nikon rep. Like, this is what we're experiencing. It seemed like everything was working as it was supposed to.
Yeah.
So maybe in the future we'll figure out how to
work around,
optimize it better. But at the same time, good focusing systems don't need to be tweaked. They will work even with less than optimal settings. A couple of people said, hey, other reviews disagree with you. Like, look at this article that was posted on Adorama, or look at Ross Harvey's article. They said that everything about the camera was great. I want to make the point that all three of the people that they're quoting here are Nikon ambassador. And that means they essentially work for Nikon. Nikon gives them messaging points. They're all very talented photographers, and I'm confident that they believe what they said, but at the same time, it's not an independent review. People also said that DP Review disagreed with us, and you can see here that people are quoting parts of the DP Review article that make it sound like the focusing was great. I would just encourage people to check out the DP Review article and read it for yourself. Because I read it and I thought, oh good, DP Review seem to have come to the same conclusion as us, which is in good light with group focusing, it can be pretty snappy. Once you use pinpoint focusing, once the light gets a little bit lower, it becomes unreliable. That's what we conveyed. That seems to be what DP Review found in their own tests. That wraps it up. I hope that answers everything, at least for the next month until the camera actually ships and we can do our full review. Subscribe to see that. If you have more follow-up questions or things that we can possibly address, write a comment down below. Thanks.